Bro, imagine getting slaughtered by somebody you didn't even respect, coming back as a cursed spirit, getting slaughtered again, and then coming back as an evolved cursed spirit, and getting slaughtered again, and needing to evolve one more time to the point that looks like you're human again, only to get body bagged again by the same individual that you disrespected in the first place. It could not be me. Thank you to our final patrons, Strawbones and Aaron. Now, before we come to this breakdown / review of chapter 197 of Jujutsu Kaisen, please if you're a leader on this on the chapter in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure you hit that little notification bell to miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below. You can support for as little as $1 a month. Get exclusive videos, early content, and more. Now, let's hop into last week's poll. So last week I ended up asking y'all a question, considering we've been in this setup part of the Culling Games for a while now, and we've hopped to pretty much every single main character that we have, including characters that recently became main characters such as Akari and Yuta. What did you think was going to happen next? If we're still going to stay in the setup phase, who are we going to follow now? And we now currently have 5 characters in the running, which is Miwa, Nobara, Todo, Inumaki, and Yuki. And with an overwhelming, girthy 39% of the vote, Miwa took the top spot. Notably, I do get this, she was set up in Sendai, and Sendai was now with the whole Maki arc going on, at least 2 whole arcs ago, so it would make sense if we cut back to her. Admittedly though, I'm wondering what she could have done to get amped. Maybe a few binding vows here or there or something like that. I'm really wondering. Maybe she's gone under some evolution. Like every other character I could see running solo for their own arc, at least in terms of raw stats, even admittedly weaklings like Yuji and Megumi, and especially our like demon tiers like your Makis, your Hakaris, your Yutas. But Miwa, I don't know. I'm kind of intrigued to see what her story would be. Following up with that, we do have Nobara, and notably, it has been a bara and a half since we've seen Nobara. What? It's going on 2, maybe 3 years? Like, we haven't seen Yuji in, I'm pretty sure, about a year. So it wouldn't be too shocking for me if we haven't seen Nobara in around 2 or 3 years. And obviously, everyone's been holding out, everyone's been waiting, everyone assumes she's going to come back. So if we get her coming back in her own little mini arc, it'd be great. It'd be great to see her whole recovery period and where she now stands in the Culling Games. Following up with that, we do have a very close battle between teacher and student, but the teacher came out on top. Yuki, who we have very little information about. She's sort of been a very enigmatic character throughout the entire series so far, so I can definitely see why people want to see her, especially considering she's with a person she did want to have a conversation with in Tengen, and obviously checking up on Choso would be good too. So that's probably why she took the next top spot over her student, Todo. And honestly, Todo is the person I want to come back the most, like, especially considering his removal from the narrative was, I wouldn't say arbitrary, but at least in terms of everyone else here, especially since he's already apparently defeated a special grade off screen before, because JJK0 didn't want to show us that fight, because Gege doesn't love us. But in that case, I could perfectly see someone like Todo just going, getting healed, and coming back into the battle. However, a lot of people did make a good point. Hypothetically, Todo could come back just through intervening in someone else's battle. He's a guy who very much benefits by having 2-on-2s. He's very good with the whole jumping scenario, so I could definitely see why he could be held off a little bit longer. And in last place, Inumaki. Notably, I'm actually a little bit shocked about this. I was going to say I'm not shocked at all, but now I think about it, Inumaki, while being a fan favorite meme character, he's not necessarily a character people have like overwhelming investment in. I do think this is somewhat due to the fact that his speech is very limited. It's not like he has the most verbose vocabulary. And obviously, in a similar vein to Panda, Toge Inumaki has sort of been just like a supplementary character to characters like Maki and Yuta, so it would make sense that he's sort of stuck out of luck, if you will, in terms of character. Though following him and actually getting some of his internal monologue, which is something I don't think we ever really get to see, would be very, very interesting. It would be cool to see. However, thank you so much for participating in last week's poll, all 95 of y'all. Make sure you get in on tomorrow's poll, dropping at 12 p.m. to make sure you are included for next week's review. Now, let's hop into Chapter 197. What's up, guys? I'm Hunter, and here we are to Chapter 197 of Jujutsu Kaisen, which is known as Sakurajima Colony, number 7. AKA, Maki got gains now. AKA, Maki's gains go a little bit more insane. AKA, no, wait, when are you gonna stop transforming, dog? Like, chill out, bro. But enough of that, let's hop right into the chapter itself. So we open up, and we do get to see that every person there, both, and by both I mean all, Kamo, Daido, and Naoya are like, wait a minute, something's up here. She's clearly different. Something happened inside that domain in such a short amount of time. What's going on? Even Daido, someone who isn't like, then again, Maki doesn't have cursed energy, so he's just able to tell from his instincts. He's like, whoa, she broke out of her shell. What the heck did that Kappa do? And I'm happy I'm not the only one to acknowledge that. Like, I know people have been acknowledging it in the community, and on top of that, but it's good to see that people in the verse are like, what the heck is that Kappa doing? And we even see that Naoya's like, it's so hard to get emotion out of a skull face, but somehow Gege manages to do it. And I love how this whole opening page is just centered with Maki with the most serene smile on her face. Her eyes are closed. She just has this big old grin on her face, and she's just strolling out and about. I love it. I think it's very, very liberating, and it really follows up the theme of freedom that we got from last chapter for Maki. And I'm very excited to see her move on from here, hopefully with this mindset pretty much permanently. I'm not sure where she's going to run into problems again. Like, ironically, there's so much weird scaling stuff with Jujutsu Kaisen. Like, you could argue Maki is now one of the strongest, or you could argue she's just Toji level, and Toji level could mean a lot of things in terms of where you want to place it in the series of scaling. But regardless of that, it is great to see that she's free, she's ready, she's able, and I hope she's ready to bring it to anyone else, including Naoya. However, we do get to see that immediately afterwards, we get a little explanation of why Maki seems a bit refreshed, a bit stronger, a bit girthier in that short amount of time. And apparently, Mio's barrier eliminates all elements of binding vows. As a result, time flows much faster in there. And, So does that mean that all the barriers within the culling games have time manipulation? Is that a thing? And notably, it's not necessarily impossible. I remember specifically in the Gojo Pass arc, both Meimei and Utahime, they were in a barrier made by a curse that happened to dilate their time a lot too. And I'm assuming, once again, that time manipulation comes from binding vows. But if by eliminating all binding vows, does that mean like time is flowing slower inside the domains in comparison to the outside world? I'm assuming, right? Because if time's moving faster in there, does that mean it's moving faster than like the entire world? Or is it just moving faster than like all the binding vows set up in Japan specifically? Because we know the binding vows, like, it's 2 layers of barriers that Japan is under. It's under the first layer that's set up by Tengen that allows cursed energy to be optimized as well as it is, and then there's the barrier that they're in set up by Kenjaku for the killing games, which may impose another time manipulation thing on top of it. Really makes you wonder how much of like time dilation they're under for the most part, because when it says time flows faster in there, it's not like, oh, Maki got in like 2 or 3 fights in the span of 1 minute. No, in the time it took for over, not just 1,000, over 1,000 battles of sumo, it took less than a minute. So like bare minimum 59 seconds. So in our time period, let's just do some, let me whip out the calculator. Let's do some quick maths. Let's just say it was just 1,000. 1,000 divided by, what would that be? Let's say it was a minute, and let's say it was 1,000. They would be having 16 bouts a second. That may be bad math, but I think they'd literally be having 16 bouts a second in order for that to have happened in their time period, which is impressive. It's kind of crazy how both Maki and Mio aren't tired from that either. Like, Maki I can sort of get, because, Heavenly Restriction probably drastically amps your stamina and stuff like that. And who knows, maybe there's some, like, binding, I guess, maybe there's a binding vow. No, it removes all elements of Jujutsu. So, I guess Mio just has, like, insane stamina to somehow fight over 1,000 times and still be ready and raring to go. Very, very interesting. And we do get to see that Naoya's like, okay, you got a little bit of training in. It be like that when it be like that sometimes. Die. And like, he immediately launches skyward. And in this case, I like how Naoya is sort of like realizing his scenario here, like, huh, none of these people are really fighting each other. And the two that actually did fight each other just made each other stronger. Wow. I'm in trouble. I'm in danger. Speaking of danger, did you know the like button and subscribe button are free and that hitting those does not put you in danger? In fact, it helps the channel out, and I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. However, it is cool to see he just lunges skyward, and everyone there is like, whoa, wait a second. And immediately, once again, assumedly due to the nature of the threat that he now realizes he's under, he immediately goes into his speed building mode, where he closes off all his vents and just sucks in all the air possible to start speeding up. He even flies away, and we get to see that Combo immediately recognizes it. It's like, he's accelerating and keeping his distance. He's playing to do that battering ram thing again. However, before, where it was just Maki and Combo there doing their best to fight for their lives, we get to see both Dido and Mio step up to guard him. And though assumingly it's not really to guard him, it's just they want to fight more, which is, I don't know. For once again, characters who came right out of left field, like barely even left field, came right out of nowhere in terms of like how the series was going, what we were building to, like all that. Characters who are essentially non-characters, for them to come in, make such a striking impression, be this, I guess, really powerful. Like, no, he's no joke right now. He's obviously on some kind of demon time, and for them to just be, casually vibing like this. That's pretty darn impressive. I ain't even gonna lie to you. And it's great to see it. And I love how both of them just immediately give into their base instincts. And like completely, they don't even consider the ramifications of the battle that they are in or anything that the battle has to do with them, really. They're just like, yeah, I need to cut a few more things. And he was like, yeah, I need to sumo some more. Like, there's nothing in consideration. Like, I get Dido's thing. Like, okay, you can probably cut Naoya. You already did. You got a cursed blade. Do what you gotta do. However, Neo. Does that thing, does it even qualify for sumo? Like, I feel like you need limbs to sumo. And either Naoya at this point has no limbs because he's put everything away, or B, has too many limbs. So how are you exactly going to sumo him? Quick question. Maybe that's why Naoya evolved into a human form at the very end, so he can engage in the beauty of sumo. However, we do get to see that Kamo is a bit confused, because he's like, wait a minute, if these are incarnated players, why are they teaming up? Like, what's going on here? But apparently, and this makes me wonder, has Kamo run into any other incarnated warriors for him to make this kind of statement? Like, it would make sense if we knew that Kamo had run into, like, multiple incarnated warriors before, and they were all about, well, time to throw hands. But I'm not sure. We don't get to see much of Kamo before this battle. So I guess he's just run into people that were immediately hostile. And once again, like I said, it is very rare, in the Culling games especially, to run into people who are not hostile and do not immediately want your head. Like I said, look at every single person we've seen so far, from Hajime to Higuruma. They just want your death. Meanwhile, these guys, they're kind of just here for the ride, One is, I suppose, a sorcerer. They use Simple Domain. And the other is just a warrior. And they're here to Simple Domain and warrior it. I like it. Once again, simple stuff, not too crazy, but still two very striking characters that solo the Zenin clan. However, I'm not sure about Mio too much, though. I think one of my favorite moments in this chapter is when Noritoshi just decides to ask, like, yo, what's up with y'all? Are y'all okay? Are y'all sane? And both of them stand there and are like, now that you ask, I got nothing, dog. Like, there's nothing up here. I have no interest in what kind of person I am. And Mio's just like, yeah, sorry, it doesn't really bother me. And honestly, I'm not sure if that's a better way to live or a worse way to live. Like, I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure of the person who I am as well, right? Like, I do have self-reflection moments. Am I that guy with a pencil? Or does the pencil have me? Like, I'm not exactly sure. But you ask yourself those introspective questions, and you wonder for a while, and you will probably never know. However, I guess these two just didn't even care. They're just like, not really on my docket. Like, whatever. It doesn't really matter to me. And It's to the point where they're both like, yeah, I wield a katana, and I cut what I want to cut. I'll let outsiders decide what kind of person I am. I still want to sumo a few more times because that young lady. Samurai, you want to give it a go too? No way. Poor Mio. He is really the outcast of these two. But still, like, these guys are so absorbed in what they are and what they love that they seem content to do what they want to do. It's to the point where I am 100% convinced they did not ask to be reincarnated. They just did. Like, Kenjaku didn't really ask for consent or anything. He was just like, yeah, you two nutcases, you're coming with me. Like, there's no way these two, without any, like, I doubt they even really consider the ramifications of them being alive again. They don't mention it. They don't care. Like, I think every other reincarnated sorcerer we've seen up to this point has had, like, some sort of reason for coming back. Like, Reggie is the only one who I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think he just wanted to live another life. Like, he just straight up wanted to, which acknowledges that he did enjoy life and would like to live another one. Then we have Hajime, who wants to fight Sukuna. That's the whole reason he came back. Uro, who wanted a chance of freedom and domination. We had Ryu, who wanted to have the fill of his life, the dessert that he always been craving. Meanwhile, these two are kind of just here. Kind of just here to be here. Which makes me think that Kenjaku just waited for them to die. I was like, you and you. Which is honestly even more hilarious than Kenjaku, like, trying to convince people, like, come on, join my games. He's just like, yeah, no, you have no choice in the matter. And we see that both of them are actually kind of a bit annoyed that Kamo even bothered them. Like, oh man, now because you bothered us with that stupid and pointless question, Maki's gonna go and solo everybody. And we see that Kamo now, so he has to acknowledge the fact that Naoya is just screaming why and running around destroying buildings. And notably, this is assuming that he's going at that Mach 3 speed that Maki couldn't react to before. Because he literally says, I should be the one with overwhelming speed. Why can't I catch you? And I love, once again, Gege, and this is weird because he's not even in a human state right now. But Gege does, like, grounded action so well. Like, just seeing Naoya blitz through all these buildings. Like, straight up, he dunks through one, dives into another, circles around, dives back in, and dives out. Like, he is just going crazy through all these different buildings. And notably taking no damage himself, showing how durable he is. And it's so cool to see that he's just in denial. He's in shock. He's crazed over the fact that speed, the one thing that really... I'm going to make a horrible joke. But the one thing that he really prided himself over is something that he's really losing at. Like, Naoya wasn't necessarily the strength guy. He wasn't necessarily the IQ guy. He wasn't too crazy or anything like that. But speed was his thing. It was his dream. It was his goal. And it was to the point where, realistically, Maki didn't really react to Naoya back when he was human to defeat him. She sort of just read him. She was like, okay, 24 movements. The most awesome movement would be here. Bang. She literally just put her fist out and he sort of ran into it. So in the end, it almost really was like Naoya did have the overwhelming speed advantage. And that even carried over to when he was here, where he was constantly blitzing Maki, just that Maki could throw him around and tank his hits. But now, the one thing that he prided himself on, the one thing that made up pretty much the totality of his being, is being overwhelmed by a Maki with a smile on her face. Like, legitimately, it looks like she's just bullying him as she's casually darting around this entire area. And you can even see it in how Maki's moving. She's like booking it places, hands and feet. Meanwhile, this guy Naoya is literally flying and driving through the air. Like, for all intents and purposes, she should be getting body bagged right now. But no, she's just able to easily avoid and dominate Naoya in multiple ways. And it's so hilarious because you just see Naoya with this skeleton dead face, is just in agony, in pain, annoyed. Meanwhile, Maki's like she's just having so much fun with it. And that's the thing, right? One of my favorite things about characters when they have superhuman traits is when they are having fun. Like, give me the powers of, like, Midoriya at 20% one for all. Give me the powers of Maki or Toji. Give me the powers of any slightly superhuman or very superhuman character. And I'm just going to have a blast. I will be leaping between buildings, hopping around, jumping through, and I will be having so much fun. The world is essentially your jungle gym. Just like the like button and subscribe button are both free and are also a jungle gym. So I greatly appreciate if you hit those, hop on, and help the channel out. I greatly appreciate that. Nah, but seriously, like, seeing Maki just run around, a human, legitimately, arguably the purest example of a human out of any of our main cast. She doesn't have cursed energy, she just has gains. And seeing her just run around, run across the tops of these buildings and jump and move and fall and be free. It's great. It literally turns the whole world into a playground where you don't have to worry about anything because you're just that strong, that fast, that powerful, that free. And it's great. Gege, he displays it a lot in terms of his combat, which I also appreciate. Like, once again, one of my favorite moments in the early Culling games is Itadori straight up leaping into the air, grabbing someone out of the air, and proceeding to drag them down through a building with his raw physical strength. I love that moment. But at the same time, just seeing motion through a superpowered individual is also great. Seeing Maki leap around and jump around, I love it. I don't know, it's simple. You could argue it eats up panel time, but in this case, I love it. And it fits into the whole freedom thing that Maki's been working for this entire time. The freedom to be able to do this, the freedom to have the strength and power, the freedom to be able to view the whole world as your own, to become a calamity that views the world with nothing but disinterest and be atop and beyond it all. It's great. I love it. I love it. And we do get to see that Maki literally just leaps off a building and decides to free fall. And once again, free fall, freedom, flight. Ironically enough, Maki is associated with a lot of flying birds when you think about it. So her just falling through the sky is actually kind of fitting for her. And we do get to see that the main reason Naoya is struggling to hit her, on top of the fact that she's just extremely fast, extremely strong, and pretty smart, is the fact that due to Maki's using of all of her senses, her touch, her smell, her taste, her hearing, everything, rather than just her eyes, because she can see Naoya, it's given her, like, essentially amped perception. Something very similar to this happens in, let me think, is that a spoiler? I'll loosely reference it. Something similar happens in God of High School, where a character become so supreme in a certain aspect and control of themselves, where they sort of have this like barrier around them where their senses reach and their attack range reaches, so to the point where anything enters that barrier and they're able to react to it, no matter the gap in speed or power behind it. And I feel like Maki sort of hit that here, except it's with her senses. She's able to perceive where Naoya is before she needs to really perceive him, and thus she's able to react before he gets within her active range, which is sort of kind of like spot dodging or precog or some sort, but it's just purely natural rather than being an external cursed or magical ability. And we see that apparently the one difference between her and, then again, I'm not sure, does it count? Could Toji actually see curses? I forget. I know his senses became so strong he could perceive them anyway, but I'm not sure if he could actually see them, because notably she says that now, even without glasses, I can see curses too. But what if she literally means just like seeing them? No, I think it is literally just seeing them. So I guess that is like a fundamental difference between her and Toji. She could actually just organically see curses now. Meanwhile, Toji was kind of just like, okay, I can feel everything and see. He's pretty much like Daido. Toji literally was like Daido, where he's like, I feel everything else around me, and I can kind of guess where it is. Bam! And that's all he's got. However, we do get to see that once again, Maki with a smile on her face is sort of just reflecting and realizing that in certain moments, if she had been more free, be more liberated, like a certain man was, she would be essentially a lot more optimal. She literally says, if it's that man, he would have reached that height. If it's that man, he would have thrown the katana with no hesitation. If it's that man, he would have deflected even at that speed. So it's not enough to just be the same as everyone else. There are things that only I can see. Things that only he could see. And it's interesting, right? This once again ties back into the previous chapter and how Maki didn't have a Toji. She didn't have anyone to build off of. To be fair, Toji didn't have a Toji, which is what makes him unbelievably impressive. No one in his verse really stood to him in terms of like, not even stood to him as in like, oh, a fight, because he obviously perished. But no one stood in the same league as him in terms of what his body was literally structured like. He didn't have a teacher either. But this goes back to Maki's own different teachers not understanding her situation. So even though she, quote unquote, became like everybody else, able to actually see curses without glasses and stuff like that, being strong as if she was reinforcing her body with cursed energy, all that, while she has that, what makes her similar to everyone else, she's still not like everyone else. She still has things that differentiate her. She still has things that will allow her to be different from everyone else in a good way. And this ability, I'm assuming, is only because her senses are so finely tuned. Heavily Restriction doesn't just amp your raw stats, like how strong and dense your muscles are, how fast you can move. It amps everything, including your senses, in a way that most sorcerers would probably never be able to understand. I'm assuming if you aren't careful, being a heavily restricted user would suck, because your smell's got to be super strong, and if someone farts near you, you're going to knock out. But with that being the case, Maki's slowly realizing that instead of leaning into the fact that she's now similar to other people and the fact that she can see curses, she realizes that she has to lean more into the opposite direction. She can accept the fact that she sees curses, but she needs to use every bit of herself, every bit of the world, all the data and information that only someone with her level of existence can process to truly evolve. And I think that's really, really cool. It's a great way to take a character with such a specific ability like Heavenly Restriction. It allows them to evolve in a way that only they can evolve, which is really, really cool. And we do get to see that she's going to use this power to beat someone as fast and as dominating as Naoya, because he lunges through a building trying to attack her. But as he gets in range, Maki actually manages to squat and use him as like almost a trampoline. Or actually, no, not even. According to Naoya, she literally dodged in midair just by twisting, which once again sort of implies that she can perceive his presence before it happens, and then with her brain processing speed, she can move appropriately to the fact that she could just dodge wherever he was going, which is cool to see. And we get to see that Naoya is just crazed. Like, how is this happening? What is going on? I'm in mental, physical, and all the pain right now. What is happening? And the best thing about this, my favorite thing about this, is how Maki's like, this is nothing really special or strange. Everything around us has different feelings, temperatures, densities. All this stuff is here, and everything that's scattered everywhere can relay information. This is something Maki can only perceive now as someone who has freed herself and someone with this kind of body. And I think that's great. And it's cool to see how these facets, these things that Maki has access to, truly just need to be used. These are tools in the same way that all our senses are. Our eyes are tools that allow us to guide through the world. Our touch are also tools. Every single sense you have is simply a facet of yourself that needs to be utilized, grasped, and taken control over. And now Maki, by sort of in a way becoming one with the world, by freeing herself from these worldly constraints, has allowed herself to utilize every single facet that exists within herself, to understand every single facet and use every single facet outside of herself. And you can see with how she not only dodges in midair with this huge grin on her face, but she then leaps from place to place, intercepts a likely Mach 3 Naoya, and just slobber knocks him to the ground. She straight knocks the tentacles out of Homeboy with a grin on her face. And we get to see that apparently the whole squad is just waiting and ready. Like, there was no hesitation, because as Naoya goes in and it's like, wait a minute, I'm good. I'm like her spirit, I may have gotten hit, they gotten tagged at Mach 3, but it's fine, What, use her punches that are not infused with cursed energy. But Mio is immediately waiting, and then he even acknowledges himself as a Kappa. He says Kappa Rokujushi, and immediately headbutts Naoya. And then Daido wastes no time and immediately bisects bro again, straight down the center. And it is hilarious just to see Naoya just in shock again. And before he can even register anything, he gets kicked in half. Like, Daido cut him so clean that his two halves were sort of staying together. But then, once Maki comes in to deliver the kick, he is literally chopped in half. And we see that for the first time, she really is Toji. Naoya, #1 Toji star on the planet, looks at Maki and sees him. And I love it. I love it. I love how both these characters, who are free in their own unique ways, I'm definitely going to do a comparative analysis on freedom between Maki and Toji and see which one I prefer. But it's great to see that even Naoya is forced to acknowledge it. No matter what, no matter all that he's done, there's nothing he can do but acknowledge the fact that she now stands amongst them. However, just because he acknowledges it does not mean he can stand for it. And we see that he proudly declares, as he rips himself free of the bottom half of his skeleton cocoon form, and says, "The one to stand there is me. Ryoki Tenkai. 24 frames jutsu." I don't know. I don't know what his domain expansion name is going to be. But he is popping out a domain. Now, notably, one of the biggest issues with Toji against any sort of high tier he doesn't immediately blitz and chop in half is that if they have a domain whose sure hit is active, realize the only reason he beat Dagon is because Megumi was negating Dagon's sure hit. They kind of just get body bag no matter what. That's all that happens because they have no domain counters. But if Maki develops a domain counter here, he kind of gonna go crazy. You know what I'm saying? I'm actually very, very excited to see how they deal with this. All of them, really. I mean, Mio has a simple domain. He doesn't really care. It doesn't seem like Kamo's in the general vicinity anymore, so I doubt Naoya's domain is going to capture Kamo too. So he should be fine. But Maki and Daido, very intrigued to see how they deal with this domain. And overall, this chapter was a perfect follow-up to the last chapter. While the last chapter was all about Maki achieving freedom, this chapter was about Maki understanding it and using it to her advantage. And now we're getting in the next chapter, and probably the chapter after that. I highly doubt Naoya is going to domain and die in the same chapter. But on top of that, we get to finish this off with a true test of her freedom against something that literally takes freedom away, a domain expansion. It limits you. So we're going to see how far Maki's freedom can go. Very, very interesting. Very, very excited. This was a really good chapter. I give it a solid 8 out of 10. It's not... Do I really have any complaints, though? No, I really don't. Actually, I'll give it a 10. I'll give it a 10. You want to know why? Because whenever I do my ratings, I always try to think of what is a problem I have with the chapter. And really, there's nothing. It does everything that it's supposed to do, and it does it well. So this is a solid 10 out of 10 for me. However, that's what I think. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that little notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do a Patreon down below. We can support for as low as $1 a month. Exclusive videos, early content, and more. Thank you so much for watching once again. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.